bookkeeping practice, because it's something we still get asked a lot. And if you don't know how to start a bookkeeping practice, you don't know how to start a bookkeeping practice. So just a quick live from me to share a few tips, really. I started a practice in the mid 2010s, so not too long ago, to sort of remember that process. And having spoken to Jo about this, I remember when she went from sole trader to limited and went through that process again, we actually reviewed that whole that step-by-step process that she followed so that we could build out the startup program. So if you do decide you need extra support with this, a really good way to get that is to just come and join us in the startup program, and then we'll take you through it step by step. But it's fairly straightforward. We get quite a lot of questions from people who are retraining or have come from a different background. So maybe have worked in industry or have worked in a very different role. And, you know, my experiences, I did my training in local government. I trained as an accountant in local government in my 20s. I've worked for the BBC, I've worked in banking, I've worked for BT. So I've done corporate roles, management reporting kind of roles, and not bookkeeping specific related roles. And I thought, you know, I'll never be able to be in practice because I didn't have that kind of work experience. And I hadn't gone into my career expecting that was actually what I was going to do. So I hadn't collected that record of the work that I had done to get that practicing certificate. So of course, when I got to the point that I thought, oh, I'm going to start my own practice, I was completely kicking myself because I hadn't kept that that record. And I suppose one of the things I'd say is, if you're watching this and you're thinking that starting a practice of your own is in your future, start gathering that evidence, because there are various boxes that you're going to need to tick. And it does depend on how you want to get your license and who your professional body is. But it's very helpful to have that that background. So what does it actually look like? There are various routes to starting a practice, and I'm going to talk to you if you are a bookkeeper, although I know that there are accountants in our community as well. If you are a bookkeeper, we would, again, there are more ways. Now in my mind, there's like this little sort of diagram with, it goes off on different paths depending on what you want to do. Jo and I would always recommend that you are with a professional body. You get a lot of support when you're working with your professional body, whoever that is, whoever you choose. And the syllabuses and what is covered in the exams are much of a muchness. But the way that you apply for your practicing certificate might be different, or the requirements of the certificate might be different. So your best bet is, if you're already training, speak to the professional body you're training with about their route into practice. And if that isn't going to work for you, then research and see what your other options are. I think that is the most simple, because otherwise we get overwhelmed with doing all of the research. And if I'm about anything, I'm about accountability and getting it done. So what is your fastest route to success? If you're already doing something that's on the right path, just work out what you need to do next to get there. When you have your when you are qualified, and generally accounting exams go up to sort of level 3 is usually where you can get a practicing certificate as a bookkeeper. Level 4 adds a different level of service, and some people call themselves an accountant at that point as well. It's going to depend on, you know, what you're actually able to provide. So you'll want to choose that based on your own abilities, what you're interested in, the kind of clients you want to work with, the kind of work that you think you're going to be doing, you know, that sort of business strategy around your business. And this is why we need to think about business as if we are a business owner from day one, and not think of ourselves as a freelancer. And I'm guilty. I really thought of myself as a freelancer, and I told myself that kind of story from day one, which is why I'm saying you don't have to do it that way. Think of yourself as a leader. Think of setting up this business as a bit of a project, a bit like you might be doing if you're doing your bookkeeping and accountancy exams now, and you're looking at businesses and examples of businesses. Think of this as you doing your own kind of case study on your own business. Think of it at that top level, because for some reason when we're in it, we keep ourselves small. So if you can just take that step back, maybe speak to someone you know who is in business already, or other bookkeepers who are running businesses, that's going to give you another sort of sounding board as well. So you're going to need your practicing certificate. You need to be supervised for AML. I'm going to assume if you're watching this, you're in the UK. So we need to do a specific range of checks to make sure we understand who our customers are. So if you are with a professional body, they're going to give you the guidelines and what you need to do around that. So that gives you that level of support. You need to have insurance. You need to be aware of handling data and registering with the ICO. And then when you've got those bits in place where you are sort of ready to trade and legally qualified and insured and have the pieces of paper, then it's about the other things that would go with any kind of business that you'd be setting up. So it's really about how you're going to get that product to market, who is your audience, who is the market that you're sharing it with. So thinking about marketing, you're going to need a website, you're going to need the social media, you're going to need to make sure that you're out there all the time selling. We were running a call earlier on today with some of our startup community, and we were talking about the kind of balance of how does your time get spent when you're in those early days of building a business. If you and what we actually did was we projected forward 6 months, and we were thinking about, well, if this business has achieved the revenue target that I have at the end of the year, what does that look like? What's the revenue? How many clients am I looking after? What roughly are they paying? And then how much time is that taking from my team or my capacity that I have available every week? Because then you can work back and you're like, well, actually, if I haven't got that many clients yet and I'm getting this many a month extra, I can work back and I can see how much time actually I've got available. And then the time that I'm not spending on clients right now is actually going to need to be allocated to sales and marketing, because it's that sales and marketing work that is going to drive the clients that you have in the future. So that needs to have our attention right at the beginning. So if you have capacity now, that capacity is for sales and marketing. If your business is ready to go, you need to start getting people into the pipeline. So, and then we were sort of talking about how do you stagger that? So as you bring the clients in, then you release a little bit of that time, so you've got more time to spend on your client work. But also, of course, this week, we've been running Big Week, which is our event. It's free. If you want to register, it's at bookkeepersevents.com. And we've been talking about AI and bots. And of course, the world is changing and the way we do this is changing. So actually, and if you're thinking about starting a practice right now, it could look very, very different, because it could be staffed by actually a lot of technology. You might be bringing bots in rather than using your own time for things. And then that frees you up or gives you more capacity to have additional clients, or to spend more time with your kids, or more time marketing, or whatever, or more time taking your level 4 exams, so you can offer additional services. So there are lots of opportunities right now. Things are really changing very, very quickly. And some of the things we've been talking about this week are like new news. These things are happening around us really fast. And I'm quite excited about this. So we've been sharing all of these videos on our YouTube channel. So if you want to catch up and you want to see what we've been talking about and what bookkeepers are actually doing, we've been sharing that this week. And I'd love for you to go away and have a think about it. But in terms of how do you get started, there are some fundamental pieces. Your professional body can point you in the right direction in terms of practicing certificate, what their expectations are about your insurance levels, what you need to do about privacy, terms and conditions, those kind of things. And then, as we said, it's moving on and doing the other things that any business owner would be doing. And this is what makes you so incredibly valuable to the businesses that you work with, because you're building a business just like them. And if there's one thing that you take from this video, what I really want you to take away with you is that if you are starting or growing your bookkeeping practice, you are a business owner, you're a leader as well. I want you to put that leadership head on, because then you can guide your business. Think of it as that sort of case study we were talking about. Think about if you were a third party advising someone else growing their business, what would you be taking them through? What would you be talking to them about? Because it's the same for you. You're not just a freelancer. You're not going to go in and just do a bit of bookkeeping. You've got a lot of other things to be thinking about as you're growing the business. So take it seriously from day one. Set big goals. It doesn't mean you have to do it, but if you have that goal ahead of you, it's going to be getting you way closer to that goal than if you didn't have the goal in the first place. So I'm going to leave that with you. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you really soon. Take care. Bye.